नमस्कार. आयच्या डिबेटात तुमकां सगळ्यांक येवकार. 3 आठवडे जाले जाका आमी डिमॉनिटायजेशन म्हणपाक लागल्यात सध्या, आनी 3 आठवड्याच्या उपरांत किती परिस्थिती आसा ऑन ग्राउंड आनी खंय वता ही परिस्थिती ताजेर आमी भासाभास करतात. 3 मानेस्तां म्हजे बरोबर. पयली मानेस्त आसा ते गोवा युनिवर्सिटीच्या पॉलिटिकल सायन्स डिपार्टमेंटाचे HOD डॉक्टर राहुल त्रिपाठी. सो वेलकम टू द शो. दुसरे आसात गोंयांतले एक नामनेचे चार्टर्ड अकाउंटंट शैलेशबाब उसगांवकर. स्वागत तुमचें. आनी तिसरे आसात जे फाटली 2 डिबेट्स आमचे बरोबर आसात आनी हांवें फाटले पे सांगिल्लें तशें सगळ्यांत महत्वाचे आमच्या जिवितांतले घटक ते किरीटभाई मगरलाल. स्वागत तुमचें. सो किरीटभाई, अगेन स्टार्ट विथ यू. वॉट हॅज हॅपन्ड आफ्टर 3 वीक्स आनी जी परिस्थिती आशिल्ली सुरवातीची, has there been any change, improvement? And today is again the 1st of December. It's a payday. How are things really on the ground?
आमकां एक डाउट ना, कोणाच्याच मनान डाउट ना की आज जे आमचे ऑनरेबल प्रायम मिनिस्टरान एक एक्सरसाइज चालू केल्या ताजे मोटीव आणि मोटिवेशन कितें आशिल्लें दॅट नोबडी इज डाउटिंग हिम. इन हीज माइंड वॉट ही हॅज डन हॅज बीन एन एब्सोल्यूट सक्सेस. आज 3 इश्यूज आशिल्ले when he announced. एक आशिल्लें करप्शनाचे. Whether corruption could be rooted out from society, whether black money could be unearthed, and whether terrorism and all could have been stopped. हे 3 एरियाज जे आमचे आसा ते 3 एरियासाचेर आमी आतां डिस्कस करपाचे की whether they have achieved that aim or not. आणि at the end तुमची जी ग्राउंड रियालिटी आसा, is it meeting up with these 3 main motivations that were there? Corruption, आम्ही म्हणला पयलींच की it is a necessary evil. It cannot be rooted out. No sane society in the world has rooted out corruption completely. And you cannot stop corruption. But last time आम्ही म्हणला तशें you could rein in the gains that have been made previously through the corruption. Black money, 6% is the only money, cash, that is in the black money circle. बाकीचे सगळे रियल इस्टेट, तुमचे ज्वेलरी हातून आसा. Does it make any sense for you to withdraw 86% of money in circulation to stop 6% of your black money? This is another question which we have to answer ourselves. And तिसरे terrorism जे आम्ही म्हणता, terrorism is across the border. You cannot demonetize foreign exchange. Today the money is, the flight of money is there into foreign currency. So हे जे 3 तेंच्यांनी घेऊन मेन हेतू आशिल्ले तेंचे सक्सेस आयला की ना, आय एम रियली व्हेरी स्केप्टिकल. पूण ग्राउंड रियालिटी तुम्ही पळयात. आज बँकेन ATMान पैसे ना, आज बँकेनूय पैसे ना. सॅलरी जेन्ना काडपाक लोक वतले तेन्ना बँके कडेन पैसे ना दिवपाक. सी दी अदर एस्पेक्ट इन वीच वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट GDP. आमी आतां अर्लियर उलयताले ते 3rd quarter your GDP is surely going to be hit because agriculture, logistics, transport. हे जे 3 issues आसा which are actually the main fundamentals to grow your GDP, they have been very severely hit because of the cash issues that are there. बँकेन आता अशें केला, रिझर्व्ह बँकेन सडनली एक रूल काढला की 100% CRR दवरचे म्हणून. That means they have sucked out all the money that would have otherwise been given out by the banks to the general public. आता झालं अशें, बँके कडेन पैसे आयल्या, त्या पैशाचेर बँकान इंट्रस्ट दिवचेच पब्लिकाक, पूण they have no way of recovering by way of giving advances. Bank again is going to be hit very badly. 3rd quarter results of the bank will show that they will take at least to 4 to 5% hit on their bottom line. आता बँकेचे पळयले आमी, we have seen about the general economy, we have seen the common man, we are talking about GDP. How much further do you expect a person to bear and tolerate? So आमी म्हणटा न्ही, at the end of the rainbow you will get a pot of gold. But today थंडर, लाइटनिंग, रेन असा की ना ते तुम्ही बेअर करात म्हणता ते 50 दिवसाचो जो विंडो.
But you are even doubting that there is a pot of gold.
We are not sure.
Okay.
आता फ्लिप फ्लॉप म्हणता न्ही आम्ही, फ्लिप फ्लॉप happening on a daily basis.
Okay.
What is the path?
Okay. Shailesh, the point is very simple. Right now, from last 3 weeks, we have become a economy on the go, and our policies every 24 hours, new policies are coming out. Today morning they said that we are going to stop accepting 500 rupee notes at petrol from tomorrow onwards, when earlier it was 15 December. How are you looking at all these changes and where it will lead us?
I think as Mr. Kiritbhai has said, that the intentions of the Prime Minister are very good. And I would disagree to some extent with the Kirit Bhai, although we are facing all these particular difficulties, the common man. See, we have to be with the Honorable PM because his cause is very noble. He wants to root corruption and he wants to look at Indian economy he wants to create an ethical economy. So, however, the way it is being done, I mean, I think it could certain particular groups in the society may look at it as some sort of a terror approach. I personally feel that it's okay.
How will it impact economy in that? So there are questions about GDP.
Okay.
There are questions about how much cash will go out of circulation, how much dividend government will earn, and how will government pump it back into the market.
Yeah. So, of course, I am not an economist, but then I would like to say something on economic front, how it is going to affect the economic development of the country. First, inflation. Now, as far as inflation is concerned, it is definitely going to bring down the inflation. Why? Because the demand has collapsed. Because of sucking out of cash, the demand has collapsed. Consequently, also, what will follow is the manufacturing sector is also going to scale down its production. So, to that extent, supply also is going to come down. Now, to what extent this supply and demands are going to go downward, are going to go downward will determine the impact on inflation. All said and done, I feel the fall in demand will be definitely more than the fall in supply due to scaling down of manufacturing operations.
Okay.
In other words, there is likely to be a fall in inflation. This is one. As far as GDP growth is concerned, as Kirit Bhai has said, and I would also agree that in the coming quarter, our GDP growth is going to get affected. However, now why it is going to get affected is because of this fall in demand and scaling down of manufacturing operations. But we have also got to see that, the type of cash that the government will be sitting on. Now, let me just clarify here. See, we are talking about 15 lakh crores in circulation, which is planned for demonetization, of which it is estimated that around 4 lakh crores would not come back to the government.
Because it is outright black money.
Exactly. So, therefore, this is some sort of a windfall for the government, number one. Number two, government would be getting tax on the undisclosed income which is now being disclosed. So, as a result, the fiscal deficit that was earlier budgeted would definitely come down. And therefore, inflation, although in the short term it has come down, or the GDP growth, of course, inflation has come down, it could, lead to an increase or spurt in GDP over, say 1.5 years.
Dr. Tripathi, how are you looking at this? Because corruption, I think the corruption starts with politicians, it goes to the bureaucrats, and it is at all levels of our society. Second is terror, and third is economy. How are you looking at these primary two aspects? Economy we have seen. As far as corruption and terror is concerned, how effective is this measure? Because as we speak, there is another terror attack that is going on. So, how are you looking at it?
Allow me to come to the security and political angle in a minute later.
Yes.
Just one point on economic terms also, I think needs to be mentioned. And that perhaps gives a different take on the issue of inflation, which he just suggested. One reason why we have been able to keep our inflation under control and also by and large keep away from the recessionary tendencies that had crept in was that the oil prices in the recent times had been to our advantage. And they cushioned the impact of what a potential inflationary tendency could have been. But I just saw the news yesterday that the oil and petroleum exporting countries, realizing that they are having a downfall in terms of prices, have decided to curtail the production of oil, which is a move which they had once done way back in the 70s because they wanted to show their power and monopoly. My fear is that once the after effects of this decision start coming up, I think all our calculations with regard to inflation targeting, demand, growth, supply are going to get affected. So in that sense, there is a very strong external vulnerability which India is going to face. In addition to what
In
the
addition to
domestic
what is happening inside.
So on the economic front, I would be a bit too cautious because the inflationary impact of a possible oil price shoot up will have unimaginable consequences.
Absolutely.
Yes, terror and corruption. I mean, I agree with both the panelists that yes, it's a step in the right direction, perhaps a pretty bold step which could not be anticipated. And if there was an element of predictability, then the real impact would not have been realized. But then in politics, there is a very important component called expectations. People are having certain expectations with regard to the immediate pains that are coming up vis-a-vis the long-term gains. My hunch is that over a certain period of time, that anticipation starts wearing thin if the results gradually don't come in. So as far as the common people are concerned, I think it's time the management of the demonetization drive that should have started showing effective results. On the management front of it, we are still lagging far behind. I mean, ATMs as it is were not having cash, and now we have the banks which are still coping up with the pressure. Terrorism is far too endemic. I mean, yes, terrorism does not always, especially the kind that we have in India, cross-border, doesn't really depend on our currency alone. So there are far too many external variables supporting these groups. So you cannot expect terrorism to be wiped out overnight. For corruption, it's a long battle because black money does not always exist in cash flows that are
Correct.
there. Black money also is there in terms of flows which are already within the system.
Correct.
My cumulative sense is that if this anticipation period takes a bit too long, I think the popular perception may start turning against. So there is a management at the ground level which needs to be done.
Which needs to be done.
Yes.
एक इंटरेस्टिंग पॉइंट आता दर दिसाक नवीन पॉलिसी येता दर दिसाक नॉर्म्स चेंज जातात रूल्स चेंज जातात द क्वेश्चन इज व्हाट इज इट डूइंग टू अवर इकॉनॉमी पॉइंट वन and secondly whether when you take such kind of a bold radical step it's a necessary thing. You learn when you do things and you actually see the ground reality and you assess the ground zero. How are you looking at it? Or you are feeling that such kind of drastic measures when we have already taken a bold step like demonetization are not required at this point of time? How are you looking at it?
Again, ground reality. We are there on the field every minute of the day. We are the people who face the customers, who face the consumers, who understand what the banks are facing today. We are the people who are across the whole spectrum, and we are the traders, the trading community that we are talking about. And we realize and see the frustration that is building up. Now, frustration is building up because of two fronts. One front is that there is no clear roadmap that has been assigned in the minds of the people. Now, if I know for certain that for the next 7 days, if my policies continue in this fashion, this is what I am supposed to achieve, I will monitor that roadmap. तुम्ही म्हणता तशे every day they are changing policies, which again gives rise to a lot of confusion, and confusion to a later extent gives rise to rebellion. This rebellion is something that we are noticing, which is going to be a very dangerous trend. We see it has happened in UP. It is moving to West Bengal. It will happen elsewhere. Today we are seeing bank employees rebelling because they are the people who are under the brunt of it all. Now, if the bank employees take it up as a serious issue, then we are in for a huge financial crisis because that is the base under which our whole economy works today. So, in order to curb the rebellion, I think it is very important that whoever is taking decisions should understand and accept the fact that, okay, we could have made a mistake and these are the corrections that we are making. Rather than imposing new rules, new policies every second day. Now, all of a sudden, the first week was on demonetization. So, that shock was too early for people to take in. The second week was on patriotism. You had to be, bear with us for the good of the country. The third week, all of a sudden, has become cashless society. Now, we are not ready for a cashless society. We may be in a particular span of time. But today, when you are already burdened with a lot of issues and uncertainty, you cannot put something completely new on your head and say that we are end of December, by 31st December, we become a cashless society. You have to understand what is going on in the people's mind before coming out with these issues. Now, if you see the whole of country, we are saying less than 50% do not even have banking facilities. If you see the whole of country, less than a quarter have got internet connectivity. Less than 1/5 have got electricity connections. So, what we are trying to say is, when you are talking about a cashless society, just the fact that you remove cash from the society doesn't make it a cashless
society. So, हो एक इंटरेस्टिंग पॉइंट आनी मागीर पयली वीक वा डिमॉनिटायझेशन आशिल्लो, दुसरो पेट्रियटिझम जालो, तिसरो कॅशलेस जाला. देयर इज वन मोर थिंग दॅट आय वूड लायक युअर पर्स्पेक्टिव्ह ऑन. Government has again came out with a income declaration scheme. Finance Minister has introduced it in the parliament to the tune of 50% penalty. Now, when you are saying that you are demonetizing, and on the other side you are declaring a kind of an amnesty scheme, don't you think that's a contradiction, or you feel you find some financial rationale into it?
No, I think the Honorable Prime Minister is coming little lenient on these people who are coming out with this disclosure of their erstwhile undisclosed income. In the sense that earlier, he created some sort of terror by, coming out with an administrative order saying that some 200% penalty, etc., which created nervousness in the society and in the community. However, what I feel is, as compared to those who have paid 45% in IDS 1, this version 2, he is taxing them more. He is penalizing them, no doubt, but he doesn't go to the extent of 200%. So I think he is giving them a chance. He is nice to people who are coming forward, and in my opinion.
So you are saying that there is a thought out process behind it.
Yes.
There is a thought out process, and that's why this is happening.
Yes.
The third thing is, as far as the rebellion aspect is concerned, and as you said that the anticipation cannot be too long, how do you think that is going to affect on ground? Primarily, we are seeing a non-BJP ruled states who have already taken a very strong stand against demonetization, where such kind of things have started happening. Now, PD is the best moral high ground that the political parties can take and say that, see, it's your salary and you are still not getting the cash. So do what you want to do, and we are going to sit quiet and watch what you are going to do, so that the union government gets the brunt. How are you looking at it? Is this rebellion that we are seeing or calling is going to start from the non-BJP ruled states first, and then it is going to spread?
Well, I would not look at it in such hard and fast terms as rebellion starting from non-BJP states. Although the way things are being carried out in the media, both in the social media sphere and in the conventional media, so BJP will always take pride in the fact that, see, the first elections that took place after demonetization, the local elections in Gujarat, we have got through, and so there is a support. No, I don't think politics works that way. The results of these elections may be an outcome of something that had been building up at the grassroots level for some time. I think the real political impact of demonetization will creep in over a certain period of time. I think while there certainly would be spontaneous acts of disenchantment, dissatisfaction, still I would not say rebellion at the ground level, as we have seen happening in UP, even Karnataka, I think I heard. But so long as people feel that, no, it is in the larger good, and to be frank, as of now, still that perception is there, that no, there is a long-term gain for this short-term pain, which is there. So I don't anticipate an immediate outburst. But then if the management of it does not get a course correction very soon, that may start showing popular unrest. That unrest may lead to, perhaps, well, we are having elections in 5 states coming up in bits and pieces in different levels. But I think Indian democracy will have its own way of managing with these contradictions. And another year from now, you will have the present government into its fourth term. So once the government comes into the election mode, well, it may change the whole equation altogether. So I think the next 6 months are going to be crucial rather than the immediate 1 month insofar as the political fallout is
So
concerned.
वो जो मुद्दा हा की एक मैं मॅनेजमेंटाचो आणि दुसरो म्हळ्यार बिकॉज ऑफ दॅट लॅक ऑफ मॅनेजमेंट यू आर स्टडींग द सिच्युएशन ऑन द गो अँड यू आर कमिंग आउट विथ पॉलिसीज हाऊ बॅड इट इज फॉर द इकॉनॉमी.
I think I agree with both, especially because this frustration that is coming in, and the word that he has used, rebellion, looks like it is all coming out of mismanagement, or rather, this management of this particular demonetization, or rather this action of demonetization has got to be coupled with good management policies, which is not happening, and therefore this sense of frustration, etc., we can get to see in this. The government has to do something to see that, like this 500 rupee notes have still not come to go on. So all these things, do add to frustration. So what I feel is the government has to do something very, very urgently to put the management in place. I think then everything would set to rest.
तुम्ही म्हणता नी management, I have no doubt that we have got the best people at the top for managing the issues. आज जे करता ते well thought of प्लॅन करून सगळें केल्लें आसा. कम्युनिकेशन इज नॉट देर. आय थिंक द लॅक ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन इज वॉट इज रियली क्रिएटिंग. देर इज नो डर्थ ऑफ मॅनेजमेंट एट द टॉप लेवल. आयदर इट्स नॉट बीइंग put down correctly to the officers and people concerned, who in turn are not putting down correctly to the local population. आता आजच्या न्यूज तुम्ही पळयल्यास PM has given diktat to all their officers. Go out in the field and tell them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. Ata, these people who go out in the field, are they communicating it correctly to the ground level, or is it telling them what they feel, and then they are not in a position to answer questions that come to them? So management need not be the de facto shortcoming of the government. But I feel communication is something that is.
Then I want to ask you another question. Now the Prime Minister has openly said that he will go after Benami properties. Now that is the area where most of the ill-gotten wealth is parked. We have, the statistics says that we have roughly 6,000 income tax officers, and out of those 6,000, 1,000 posts are vacant. And government is going to ask us to declare our properties so that they can go after the Benami properties. We are a country as huge as 1.25 billion. Is it practically possible to take on such kind of a scheme and vigorously implement it, or it is a very unrealistic way of doing it?
No, that is the vision. No, the Prime Minister has a vision. It is the vision that the Prime Minister today will have to put it out in public domain. The main issue today is people are really worried about the discretionary powers that are with the income tax officers. So the vision may be great. If it is not implemented as per what he wants, then these issues are going to keep cropping up. So ताणे जे म्हणला Prime Minister जे म्हणला त्याने, what the changes he wants to bring are actually the right changes, but it is not being followed at the ground level or at the mid level. आणि त्या खातीर आज आमकां तो प्रॉब्लेम आयला तोच.
One interesting point of the Benami properties thing. Ultimately Benami properties कोणाचे आहात? Ultimately the पॉलिटिशियन्सांचे आहात. एक इंडस्ट्री बिझनेसमॅन एक वेळ तांचे कडेन सदांच पयसो आसता. पॉलिटिशियन्सांचे आसात, ब्युरोक्रेट्सांचे आसात, बाबूस have their Benami properties, and ultimately the system is going to rely upon these individuals only to do a crackdown. So how practicable can that be? तुम कित दिसता?
See, Benami meaning the properties. Now these politicians, as you said, have invested their monies in the name of XYZ, whoever.
Correct.
That's Benami. I think he has also targeted politicians. See, everyone is covered by this.
No, is it practically possible to implement a crackdown on Benami properties when the system itself is run by those who hold Benami properties?
So that means the government should actually focus on poll reforms. Wherever today the maximum black money is in the political circuit, we know it. Poll reforms is very important. Today the Prime Minister has said that you have to declare all your assets. BJP MLAs declare all your assets to the head of the BJP party. That again is what the Prime Minister says.
To what
But to what extent? This is the whole idea. To what extent?
To what extent it is effective, we are no one to comment.
How this is a very important. Ultimately, system is going to rely upon those who hold Benami properties to crack down on Benami properties. How effective can that be?
Well, of course, that leads to challenges of policy implementation. I mean, that reminds me of 1960s when land reforms were a major issue. India needed to do land reforms, not focus on agricultural growth, but the people who were supposed to implement land reforms was the same landed class bureaucrats who owned these lands. And we know for sure that land reforms left a lot to be desired. Similar issues may come up here also. But just one point where I would have a slight disagreement with Magan Bhai is that no, policies at the top are perhaps quite clear. Management is clear, but the communication is not. No, I think who else can be a better communicator than the Prime Minister himself? And when he was in Goa, I remember his statement that I am willing to recruit 1 lakh more income tax officers if that leads to the complete cleaning up of the system. Now, of course, being a Prime Minister and being a politician, he has to make a political statement. I don't think it's got to do more with communication, but what could be good political statement has also to be weighed against the practicality of you are dealing with a country like India. You are not dealing with thousands or lakhs. Here you are dealing with millions. So the same discreetness with which the government treated this issue, I think a lot of groundwork could have gone into it. At each and every step, it could have been anticipated that plan A, plan B, what are we likely to do? Now, the very fact that you have a policy coming every second day means that somewhere down the line, even at that top level, there was a kind of a
There was no complete comprehension of the scenario.
No.
That is it.
So it wasn't the surgical strike which the army did,
Yeah.
which was done and the matter
And we are
got
still
over.
seeing a lot of terror
And
attacks
we are
after the
still-
surgical strikes. So last ek ghazal that you would suggest ki immediate government needs to do in this scenario.
Management of this particular situation.
Manage, if you don't manage, it will be a mess.
Absolutely.
So one final thing that you are expecting government to do in next 48 hours.
To help the common man, start printing more smaller denomination notes.
Exactly.
Stop printing your 2000 rupee notes. It is of no value today because, like we said last time, the person who accepts 2000 rupee note very easily accepts credit cards, debit cards, all other forms of machine. Keep your machinery today to print 100 rupees, 50 rupees, 20 rupees, 10 rupee notes, which today are not available in the market.
Okay. So focus on lower denomination so that we ease the pressure on the economy. इतल्याचेर थांबता खूब बरें आणि we'll continue these debates till the end of December because
One small point, can I
Yes,
raise?
quickly.
One thing in 24 hours which I would want the
Yeah.
Prime Minister to do is to at least come to the Parliament, give a statement, so that at least the people of the country are assured that Prime Minister is in control of the situation and he is not making an ego issue out of it.
and there is no contempt for institutions.
Otherwise, the Parliament.
Well, it is the Parliament.
Parliament.
Ultimately, it is the supreme institution of the democracy. So thanks a lot. आम्ही एक गजाल ठरयल्या की ज्यो बदल जातात ते पयल्यार तांची प्रत्येक सामान्य मनशाक साध्या सोप्या शब्दां भितर जाणविकाय जावपाक जाय आनी विस्कटावणी जावपाक जाय. ती जातली जाल्यार अशे एक्सपर्ट्स येवन तांणी ह्यो गजाली लोकां मुखार मांडच्यो पडटल्यो आनी ते काम आमी करतले. We have decided that till December, even if there is a election fever and we have to keep politics aside, we will keep politics aside, but we will continue this debate series and we will every week we will come and explain to the people what has happened in the last week, what can happen in the next week. आणि तुम्ही सगळेजण आमच्या बरोबर असतले अशी अपेक्षा आसा. तुम्ही आयले इतली बरी भशेन मतां मांडली. थँक्स अ लॉट. पळयत रावत प्रुडंट. नमस्कार.